Hey everyone. I had the chance to play Magic Legends a day earlier than the official beta start date, and I wanted to make this video to share the 8 reasons why I think this game is bad. I didn't want to spend a ton of time formulating my thoughts on this because I feel like first impressions are really important here. They help me to share with you guys my raw thoughts and feelings on my experiences with Magic Legends without overthinking it. So let's jump right in. Bad game design. What I mean by bad game design is that the game does a horrible job of explaining how anything works. After you complete the first part of, I guess, the campaign, it sends you to your realm, where you talk to the guy you met when you first started the game. It's here where you start to learn about basic parts of the game that should have been explained to you from the start. Just for reference, I had been playing the game for about 2 hours before getting here, and this is where the game decided to share with me what spell pages were. I of course already knew what they were by this point, but it just felt like no thought went into player experience. Empty world. As you're running around from quest point to quest point, the game can feel very empty. There are very long stretches with no enemies, points of interest, or unique loot. And by unique loot, I mean things like treasure chests or hidden stashes. They are essentially non-existent in this game, which gives you no real incentive to care that much about your surroundings. Later on, you do get access to areas called reliquaries, which I guess sort of act like points of interest, but you can actually come across some that players are already in, meaning you'll already have nothing to kill in there, which just contributes to that feeling of an empty world. Character gear. The way gear information is displayed to you is pretty confusing. At first glance, it's hard to tell which part of the item information you're actually benefiting from. It also gives you the option to swap certain stats out that you may or may not be benefiting from, because like I said earlier, it's kind of hard to tell. And when you try to swap them, they are locked. There is no description telling you why it's locked or how to unlock it. You have to click the question mark above the item image, and even then the wording here could be better. On top of this, the rate at which you find items feels bad, and when you do find them, they don't feel impactful enough, which leads me into my next topic. Progression. Throughout my play experience, it felt like I was working towards nothing. My spells took incredibly long to level up, the game did a horrible job of making me aware that I was even gaining class levels, gear felt meaningless and unimpactful, and artifacts were a joke. Maybe with some money invested in boosts for enemy and mission rewards, the progression would have felt a lot better. Optimization. Where do I even begin here? The first 30 minutes of my experience with this game was trying to figure out why I couldn't play in full screen and at 144Hz refresh rate at the same time. During the struggle of trying to figure this out, the game actually black screened my PC multiple times, forcing me to restart the computer. I eventually gave up and just played the game in full screen windowed mode. Any camera turning you do makes the game drop frames, lag, and stutter. Entering and exiting your menu or map made the game stutter. Just running around and playing the game made it stutter. It didn't help that I couldn't play the game at my monitor's native refresh rate either. And given the game's subpar graphics, it's quite the disappointment that it ran so poorly. Clunkiness. Almost every interaction in the game felt clunky. Clicking on quest givers, arenas, loot chests, and just about anything else that's clickable felt awful. Being able to spin your character around has some weird implications on using your map as well. Jumping back and forth between your map overlay and the map screen when spinning your camera can make it hard to tell which direction your character is facing. Sometimes your abilities just won't go off when you press them. I think that may have something to do with your generic attack overlapping your abilities somehow when accidentally clicking on an enemy. I also ran into issues where, depending on which area I was in, I could not swap equipment on my character. And this had nothing to do with being in a hostile environment or anything like that, it just seemed like an oversight by the developers. Travel and NPC interaction. When doing quests, the game has you running back and forth a lot. Mix this in with the empty open worlds and poor sounding voiceovers, and the game begins to feel like some weird form of torture.
I am sure our paths will cross again, Planeswalker. If you will excuse me for now, I have much to think about.
There's also some odd interaction with side quests throughout the world and the dialogue for them just randomly popping up on your screen no matter where you are. You have no idea where it's coming from or if you're part of what's going on.
Beasts at bay! The outpost is close! Please, protect me, traveler!
And I saved the best for last. Microtransactions. Of course, the game is free and they have to make their money somewhere, so they've thrown in microtransactions. And I mean a ton of microtransactions. And I'm sure you're already wondering, is the game pay to win? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is. They have boosters that increase the experience, spell page, gold, and relic fragment reward quantities from enemies and missions. They have booster packs, which can give you loot chests that can drop character equipment, relic fragments that upgrade your artifacts, and access to a whole other class. These packs can also give you a ton of spell pages which level up the spells in your deck. And to top it all off, without any shame, they also have a battle pass. The paid version of the battle pass obviously gives you more items to make your character stronger much quicker, like spell pages, spells, and more relic fragments. Initially, Initially I thought, well, how could it be pay to win if you aren't really competing against other players for anything? That's more like pay for convenience. Then I found out there's PvP, or at the very least plans for PvP to be put into the game. So if you're a player hoping to engage in that sort of thing, I hope you have your wallet ready. In the end, it felt like they focused heavily on how they could milk players for money rather than creating an enjoyable gameplay experience. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the gameplay was purposefully made to feel bad without spending money. It's sad really, because I think this game could have been really fun if it had been designed for the players rather than their wallets. It may be eventually some of the problems I mentioned will get fixed over time, but would it be enough to bring me back? No, it wouldn't. Not as long as their monetization scheme is still in place, and I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon. Thanks for watching, guys, I appreciate it. If you haven't already, make sure to check out my video on Diablo 4's endgame. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe for more gaming related content.